Rumor has it, an end is only dead if you don't have swords. Or feet. Let's go!
It's season 4 of King of the What Now. Before the world government, we ain't gonna bow. We're gonna rescue Rob and unite the crew. We're not gonna stop till our mission is through. Spanum's a dick, yeah, you know it's true. We wanna punch his face till he's black and blue. These government agents think they're justice, but regarding their tactics, I'm rather disgusted. The Straw Hats are pumped up and fists are flying. There's a hairy kaiju and lightning striking. Hearts burning hot in passionate flames. With phantom blades the giraffe is slain. Luffy is dashing, his skin's all red. Don't get in the way or you'll end up dead. The Straw Hats, yeah, they're on the attack. So now Sogeking, burn down that flag! Everyone, it's time to gather around. We're reviewing One Piece using only sound. It's King of the What Now, an amateur pod, but we hope that you'll begin to applaud as we start our episode 79. Come and join us, we're feeling fine. Yeah. Are we feeling fine or are we feeling fresh? Sorry, you were going to say something.
I was just going to say hello and welcome to episode 79 of King of the What Now.
King of the What Now.
We're a podcast that reviews anime, One Piece, the anime, from the very beginning. A very specific
anime, yes.
Yeah, and that was my husband doing a song that he wrote. So
yeah, I'm full of boundless energy today, okay? And yeah, so it's all good.
I just want to celebrate. Joel ran a marathon yesterday, so he has earned every bit of that boundless energy. We will all applaud.
We both ran a marathon yesterday together. After months of training, we've finally done it. So you can achieve your dreams. I am a simple type 1 diabetic man who thought he maybe was going to die. And my wife is someone who is riddled with all sorts of, bone problems.
Chronic pain.
Yeah. So we really weren't sure if we were going to make it. The hill was really hilly. And, that's, inclines. They're harder to run than flats. So, we're glad that we survived. But maybe next time we'll try to find a place that's a little flatter.
That's right.
Okay. And before we get into the episode, we have our new segment. I don't know what we're going to call it yet. So, Untitled segment where we talk about things that we've been up to lately.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, I had a whole plan for how I was going to introduce us and segue into that. But what have you been reading, writing, listening to, watching?
Oh, shit. We didn't introduce ourselves. Before we start this section...
Do you want to do your rap again, and then I'll just, launch into the intro?
No.
Or do you just want to go from here?
No, we are... People like it when you don't stick to the script, when you're just sharing pieces of yourself, All
right, that's fair.
Okay. I'm your host, Joel, and today I am declaring that everyone is guilty as I swing my wrecking ball around, just like Miley Cyrus taught me. Absolutely.
And I am Kat. I'm here. I'm tired because of what we already talked about. And I am a woman who does not believe in dead ends. If someone says there's something in your way, don't even acknowledge it. Just cut your way through.
Okay, we should have coordinated because I would have expected one of us to drop a Gear Second reference, and yet neither of us did.
I guess all of our podcasting techniques will have to evolve by one step.
Absolutely. Okay, so now we can get into what we've been up to lately.
Yes. Joel, why don't you go ahead and kick us off?
Oh, man. Okay, so...
But don't steal mine.
I'm not sure. I think this is a me-only project. So I have been a software engineer for some time now. And I've always ever since I took my first class in college, I was like, maybe I could make a game or something. And I've started and stopped several different times throughout my life. But once again, I've picked up the mantle and I'm working on just a menu-based, text-based only RPG system. And so far, I've finished the character creation screen, which is pretty good. But if you are a computer science person out there, you know that you have to have all of the right infrastructure and the right architecture to begin. So actually what I've done is I've now created the menu system that should allow me to more easily do the other parts of the game, such as, say, a world map or the menu in the actual battling system. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about that.
I'm always really impressed when Joel is like, look what I made the computer do. And I'm like, whoa, it's wizardry, because I'm a psychologist, so I don't do computer things or math.
She does people and I do beeps and boops.
Yes.
So.
I have been reading Steel Crow Saga by Paul Kreuger.
Yes, we mentioned it last episode as well.
Oh, did we? I didn't think we'd started.
We started
last episode.
we were on episode 1 or 2.
Gotcha. And I'm enjoying it. You know, if you like anime tropes, like a person's glass is gleaming before they say something really serious,
or only being able to see one of a person's eyes.
Yes, exactly. Then you will very much enjoy this book. I also just started Inuyasha for the very first time. I have seen very little of Inuyasha. I saw like part of an episode on Adult Swim when I was like 13 years old. So I don't really have any understanding of this series at all, except that it has wolfmen demons in it. And so far I'm liking it. It's like Dark Souls kind of. There are horrible body horror. There was a crow in a guy's chest in episode 2. That freaked me out.
Have like 3 eyes and stuff. Yeah, absolutely. I'm fairly familiar with Inuyasha. I watch the episodes off and on, so I know like the general arcs, and I know like some of the main character names. Like I know who Shishomaru is. I know who Shishomaru is. I know who Naraku is. I know Koga, I think, is the other one that you're really going to like when you meet him. But I don't know, in general, kind of like where the story beats go. I know there's some stuff with like Kikyo and Kagome, but I couldn't tell you how that story wraps up. So maybe I'll have to start watching it with you. No promises, though. It's a pretty long series.
Yeah, I'll give micro updates when we do this segment in the future.
Absolutely. And really quick, could we circle back to Steel Crow Saga? So what is Steel Crow Saga about? I know we haven't gotten to the end, so we don't know where it's going to end up, but like, what's the general world building hook?
Gotcha. Okay, Steel Crow Saga is about countries that have been invaded and conquered and have fought for their freedom, and kind of the political tension resulting from that, and people dealing with that and the changes in their societies. Also, there are spirits that kind of were inspired by Pokemon.
Yeah, so there's like 3 different main countries where we are in the book. Maybe there'll be more, but they're all based off of Asian cultures, which is pretty cool. There's one that is pretty clearly Japan. They talked about having the tatami mats and like the sliding doors
and
and
soba.
They had soba noodles, and they believe that everything has a spirit, which I believe is Shintoism. But the main magic system that is the most talked about, because I think there's actually 2, but we haven't gotten many details about the second one. But the first one is basically you can bond with what is essentially a familiar. You take an animal from nature and you kind of like give it a piece of your soul, and you form this connection, and you can summon it and what's the other word? Dispel it or
dismiss it.
Dismiss it, thank you. But it like draws off of your life energy, and over time it like mutates into something that is not quite like the animal that originally is resembled, that sort of thing. And so those people are called
Shade Pactors.
Shade Pactors, thank you. But anyways, yeah, it's a pretty good series. We still aren't very far into it. Maybe like 15 chapters, if that. But it has the representation that you would want from an LGBT kind of community standpoint. You know, you have some bisexual and lesbian characters in there, so that's cool.
A friend of mine who is bi called it a nonstop bi party. So she finished the whole book, so that's just ringing endorsement.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, it's really interesting. It has a lot of strong female characters and just that sort of thing. So if you're into those kind of that more liberal sort of storytelling, then you know it also has all of those. Mm-hmm. So great. And did you have anything else that you want to say about Inuyasha? You like the dog boy?
I like him.
Okay.
He's such a little asshole.
See, in my mind, Inuyasha, despite the fact that, is he explicitly stated to be a wolf demon?
They didn't say.
Oh, okay. In my mind, Inuyasha has always been a dog demon, just because of the sit boy thing.
And the Inu.
And the Inu, which means, dog. There is a wolf demon, I can tell you that much, and then there is also, I don't want to spoil it, but there's someone else who's associated with wolves. Awesome. So when I told you, like, oh yeah, there's 2 characters that you're just going to love, your teenage self is going to be like, I attach to these characters. I didn't include Inuyasha because in my mind, he's a dog, which is different. But
okay, well, what I'm hearing is that this series is full of potential anime boyfriends.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
I'm looking forward to going through it. Also, Kagome is great.
She's pretty good, yeah.
Like, I don't like the strong female character descriptor because I feel like it's just kind of applied to any female character who's like, I'm gonna kick ass and take names, and they aren't necessarily strong characters in the sense that they're well developed. But Kagome, like, you can tell that she cares for her family. You can tell that she's self-sacrificing because she throws herself into things. And I really like her. I feel like she's very well-rounded. And she doesn't take any shit.
I don't really remember much about her character specifically, but yes, from when you were watching it yesterday and I was catching glimpses, I was like, oh yeah, this is a lot better. She has more agency than I kind of would have expected.
Well, and is Inuyasha shoujo?
I don't know.
Okay. I would assume it is because it has a young main female character. I could be totally way off on that, but I've noticed that shoujo anime tend to be a little bit more mindful about their female characters than a lot of shonen.
So, I just looked it up really quickly, and it turns out that Inuyasha was in fact in Weekly Shonen Sunday, which is, I believe, by the same publisher as Weekly Shonen Jump, but it comes out on Sunday instead. But, so I guess it is a shonen, but yeah, because, I mean, the main characters are both Inuyasha and Kagome. She's just in the spotlight right now because they haven't had the reluctant team up, where they get handcuffed together or whatever. That'll eventually happen, but yeah. No, so if you want to watch it, Inuyasha is now up on Netflix. From what I remember, the original anime series, it didn't take the Full Metal Alchemist route where it kind of came up with its own ending, but I believe that it ends in a really unsatisfactory way. A friend of mine who is really, really into the show complained that they basically walk off into the sunset saying, I hope we beat that evil demon lord someday, and that's the last episode. But they did come out with another one called Inuyasha Final Act, but I haven't heard anything about it in the discourse. I don't know if if it follows the manga really well. I don't know if it deviates. I don't know if the animation is good or great. That sort of thing. So, all
right. So if you have an idea, hit me up on Twitter, but don't spoil anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. She doesn't even know who Shishomaru is. So, I mean, come on.
Isn't that his brother?
Maybe.
The one episode I saw was him and his brother fighting.
He has a brother, I will tell you that.
Yeah, and his brother was like, ha, you're just a halfling, you suck. And he was like, I don't suck, you suck.
Yeah, you summed up the entire show. Congratulations.
All right, and I feel like this segment has gone on a little long, so why don't you bring us back to One Piece and succinctly summarize these episodes we just watched?
Hang on. This is a chance for us to air the stuff that we've been working on, the stuff that's near and dear to us. Okay. I just want to give a quick Black Clover update.
Okay.
I said that I was watching it, and I said that it did some things well, and it did some things not very well. I didn't think that it was the most amazing show, but I was going to keep watching it, especially since I haven't met the one character that actually got me to go, oh, I should probably watch that and meet this character. They sound awesome. But I finished the first season. Last time we talked, I was still a couple of episodes away. And that show really has the whole, power of friendship thing work in a really good way. Like, in Naruto, they eventually had, all of the ninja that Naruto had ever met, working together to fight some apocalyptic threat. But I still never really got the idea that they were working with each other. It just felt like a bunch of individual characters.
We are all here.
Yeah, exactly. One Piece has that really well, especially later in the series. You have, combo attacks and that sort of thing, or, one crew member doing something on that side of the island and another crew member doing something on the other side of the island, and those two just happen to help Luffy in some way. But the final episodes, the final group of episodes, it had the entire Black Bulls, that's the main character's guild, if you're unfamiliar, working together in just a way that I really found satisfactory. And it wasn't one guy showed up and hit the bad guy, and then they got defeated, and then another person showed up, and then they did a little bit of damage. No, it was literally the characters would not have been able to hurt the bad guy in any way if it weren't for the fact that she was using her strings and he was using his mirror and he was using his teleporting and Acid was using his sword all at the same time. And it was really good. And I felt to myself, I was like, these episodes are better than they have any right to be, because when you have a slow episode of Black Clover, it's pretty bad. It's hard to watch those episodes that are just one of the characters explaining what happened last episode, and you're like, yeah, I get it. But that final working together scene, oof, it was pretty darn good.
Well, and I've only been watching this show sporadically. I haven't been following along with you. So I saw this episode, and I don't know very much about Vanessa, but I know that Finral is a coward, and he never wants to be involved in anything where he might get hurt. And the scene where he was, continuing to open the portals for Asta and he was struggling and he was like, we could run, but we're going to keep going. That was really good. I really appreciated my coward boy working hard.
Well, and that's kind of what I meant when I said this is better than it has any right to be. So the main premise is Asta joins this guild and there's a bunch of characters who are like good at what they do, but then they also have their drawbacks. So Finral's a bit of a coward. He doesn't really apply himself. Gauche is very self-centered and he only cares about one thing, his little sister. And Vanessa is a drunk and Charmy only cares about food. So the idea is basically that Asta is going to be the one who helps them all achieve their dreams and actually start applying themselves. So there was an episode where he and a guy named Magna went to a town and Asta's I'm never going to give up inspired Magna. Great. Noelle is a noble who can't control her magic, but Asta believes in her and teaches her how to care about other people. Great. So there's, I don't know, like 8, 9 other members of the guild, and he's helped like 5 of them, but for this final battle, some of the ones who have like almost never interacted with them are like, I've been inspired by Asta. And I kind of had a problem with that because he hasn't yet interacted with them directly. So like, when has Vanessa ever seen Asta and been inspired by it? She hasn't. She just decided that she liked him. But at the same time, it's still cute and cool to see all these characters working together in order to achieve Asta's dreams. And maybe not having it be so episodic is a strength, because a lot of shows, you'd have an episode where the character helps this character, and that character, and then this character.
Fruits basket.
Yeah, exactly. But this one, some of them were inspired not directly working with him, so,
Well, and I think that once you've had enough episodes where he inspires somebody because he never gives up, I think at that point you can kind of like jump ahead with some of the other characters because you already know that Asta has that effect on people.
Absolutely, yeah. So I would say that Black Clover is proving itself to be better than I initially thought. I really did not have any opinions about this, but, enough people talked about it passionately enough that I decided to give it my own watch. It's still not going to replace One Piece as my favorite, but it has its moments. It has some really good scenes that I could go back and rewatch and be like, oh, wasn't it cool the way that Vanessa did that thing with her strings? And by the way, anime has helped me appreciate the power of strings and rope, like well beyond what strings and rope should be capable of doing, okay? She uses thread magic, and she's like the strongest mage of all time, apparently. It's
yeah,
because
the threads of fate bind us all, Joel. And with that, are we ready?
Yes, I think we are done with our Untitled segment, and we will roll into the main episode.
All right, give me our succinct summary.
So we just finished watching 5 episodes of the anime. 269, 270, 271, 272, and 273. So basically, you have the rest of the Straw Hats, everyone minus Luffy, are trying to make their way to the courthouse, and they're riding on Sodom and Gamorrah, the 2 king bull seahorses, and they're getting attacked from left and right, and Zoro is deflecting things with his sword, Nami's kicking people off of who are trying to climb up and board them and stuff. But ultimately, tragedy strikes because the world government has set up some mortars that take out Sodom is the first one to fall. They have to abandon Sodom to get onto Gamorrah, who keeps charging, but then they get attacked by mortars and Gamorrah can't see anymore, and it looks like Gamorrah is out for the count.
That was a really cool reveal,
yes,
by the way.
Mm-hmm. And he valiantly gets back up and he's like, I made a promise to my brother and I am going to carry these people all the way. And so Zoro and Sanji have a moment where they get rid of some obstacles that are in the way of the King Bull. They make it to the gates of justice, or no, they make it to the courthouse is what it's called. We find out that you need to lower a drawbridge to get from the courthouse to the main building. And so Kiwi and Mozu split up and they go up the right and the left towers to pull those levers to bring down the drawbridge. And Zombai and many of the other members of the Franky house go straight in. And Zoro and Nami and Chopper and Sanji? Zoro, Sanji, Chopper, Nami. Those 4. They're making their way up. Meanwhile, Luffy was able to escape all of the no-name Marines and actually make it to the top of the courthouse, where he finds none other than Bluna waiting for him. And Bluna's like, I'm so strong, you can't defeat me. Except Luffy has gotten a lot stronger. He's now able to keep up with his movements. He's able to deflect the lightning kick attack. Bluna traps him with the Dordar fruit, but he manages to escape before he takes a direct hit. He's able to, like, punch hard enough that even with the Bluna's tech eye or iron body, he's still like, oh, that hurt! How? And so Luffy's like, hey, by the way, I figured it out. I'm a shonen protagonist. And Bluna goes, you're a what now? And Luffy goes, yeah, check out this attack. That is in no way a direct ripoff of Kaioken from Dragon Ball Z. And his body starts to glow red, and he's now faster than Bluna, who is running at, he's using Soru and stuff. And Luffy eventually finishes the battle with a Gum Gum Jet Bazooka. And it looks like it didn't have any effect, but then Bluna collapses to the ground.
And we call it Gia Secundo.
Yes, absolutely. The Spandam is about to gloat about the fact that, oh, look at your friends, they're about to be killed. And he pulls up the transponders now and he goes, what's going on down there? Are they all dead? And they're like, no, we're being completely overrun. They've made it into the courtyard. Spandam's like, what the hell?
We've lost 2,000 men. 2,000, not 5.
Oh, God. And he also gifted devil fruits to Kaku and Kalifa, and they ate the devil fruits, but we don't know what effect it had on them. Lucci kind of hinted at, like, ooh, your powers will begin to take effect soon, and you better learn to master them. But we haven't seen them yet, so who knows what's going on with those two.
I know, but I won't spoil it for our listeners.
Absolutely. And lastly, you remember Uemo and Kashi, the two giants that were taken down by the Franky family and the Galley Law people. One of them has now recovered and is crying. And Usopp, Sogeking, managed to get left behind. He didn't get on the King Bull. It's not really explained, like, if he was too cowardly or if he jumped and he missed or something, but I'm just going to assume that, like, it started running away when he was distracted by something else. I don't think he stayed behind on purpose. But he sees this giant crying. He's like, dude, what the hell? I've met giants from Elbaf before, and they don't cry over nothing, so this must be something important to you. And the guy's like, well, turns out I have a backstory that relates to Dory and Bragi, those two giants he met way back on Little Guard. And Usopp goes, I know those guys. I met them. And so it turns out that the government told Uemo and Kashi that Dory and Bragi had been in prison and held down, and the only way that Dory and Bragi would be released is if Uemo and Kashi served the world government for 100 years.
If they protected the gate for 100 years.
Yes, thank you. And this is their 50th year. They were at the halfway mark, and now they had been defeated. They had failed to protect the gates. Well, Usopp knows the truth. Dory and Bragi are very much still alive on Little Garden, as we saw. And so he tells them that, and oh no, that's no good. Uemo and Kashi have joined Team Straw Hats, Team Rescue Robin, and Sogeking is riding on their shoulders triumphantly into battle. And that has been your succinct summary! Pew, 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 pew.
Perfect. So with that, I just want to really quickly go into the thing with the giants a little bit.
Absolutely.
When 4Kids dubbed One Piece, they skipped Little Garden entirely, right? Like, they didn't include that arc at all because it was too violent or something?
They never officially released a reason from what I've read. They just were like, oh, we're trying to catch up and we're trying to save time, and this feels very fillery. It feels like it doesn't have any impact. And so, yeah, they absolutely cut it out. And the rumor is that it's quite violent. You see a dinosaur get beheaded, and there's fights to the death and stuff, so.
Right. So they skipped that. What were they going to do when they got to this moment? How was Usopp going to befriend these giants? It's a good thing it ended when it did.
Oh, God. And really quick, now that we can kind of a little bit more openly talk about spoilers, they also cut out Laboon the Whale, which, as if you're a fan of One Piece and you're further than the Enies Lobby arc, you know that Laboon is central to another plot point that's going to happen fairly soon. And how are they going to deal with that? I don't know.
Right. That's why when you're watching a show like this, even as big as it is, I feel like you don't want to skip things, even if they feel pointless in the moment, because they're probably not pointless. Oda is an amazing storyteller, and things from chapter 1 end up being foreshadowing for things in chapter 800.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that, there's some people call Oda Goda, a combination of God and Oda. And some people don't seem to like that a lot. They're like, oh, stop being such blind fans and being a fanatic for this guy. But I really do believe that it takes a special kind of author to craft such a story where all of the threads weave together so perfectly. And so, yes, I do agree that the show isn't without flaws, but just that level of storytelling, him and maybe George R.R. Martin and Brandon Sanderson are like the only three I can think of that have really nailed that 100%.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Did you like these episodes?
Yes. I liked them for the most part. I understand that they're trying to convey how big of a deal it is to storm Enies' lobby and like how, much of a threat the defenses are. But there's a lot of stuff in there that just feels kind of fillery. You have the guys who are on the dogs. You have the three-headed judge. You have the guilty wrecking ball, chain and ball, people. And I get it, but at the same time, it really feels, in the grand scheme of things, the real battle is with CP9. And so
all of this is just, it almost feels like filler.
A little bit, yeah. Except it's all really good, but it does drag on just a little bit sometimes.
Yeah, I kind of felt that way as well. These episodes had several very good moments.
Hell yeah.
Luffy's speech, which we'll talk about later, right before he did Gear Second, amazing. Someone saying, Gamorrah, you have to stop, there's a dead end. And Zoro going, I don't see a dead end, do you? And Sanji saying, no, I don't see anything at all.
And they worked together!
Amazing. Usopp talking to the giants and being able to inspire them to go fight for their freedom. Amazing. But overall, I was kind of bored.
Yeah, exactly. There were a couple of times where you're like, oh my god, I get it, yes.
Well, and no spoilers, but I feel like Impel Down does this whole, there's a lot of different kinds of enemies coming at us much better.
Sure.
Because each of the different kinds of enemies are kind of segregated.
Yeah, but I mean, Gear Second is amazing. Zoro and Sanji have their moments, but I'm waiting for the action-centered sort of stuff. And I will say, very slight spoilers, you have this impactful moment of Sodom being defeated and Gamorrah being like, I will carry on, and then Gamorrah takes damage and is blinded and stuff. They suffer, as far as I can tell, no long-term damage. They both survive, and while I don't want the animal characters to die in One Piece, I think Oda set it up in such a way that it was like, oh my god, what a terrible loss. No, he's fine. Oh, well, okay. That kind of cheapens the moment a little bit.
At least show them, Shank style, missing a arm fin or something.
Sure.
I do wonder if Gamorrah was permanently blinded.
It's possible. I just double-checked on the wiki as we were watching the episode with Sodom, and it was just like, oh yeah, you see him in a cover story, somewhere down the line, but I don't know about the blindness thing.
Gotcha. I did think, I mentioned this earlier, that the blindness was a really cool reveal. So Gamorrah was charging ahead with everyone on his back now, and he kept running into walls, and a member of the Franky family went, Gamorrah, you have to stop. If you keep charging into walls, you're going to take even more damage than you already have. And Gamorrah's response to that, as translated by Chopper, was that he had been blinded by one of the mortars and he couldn't see where he was going. So he was literally charging blindly into the fray, all because he wanted to carry on Sodom's will and because he wanted to rescue Big Bro Franky. And I think that's what One Piece is all about.
Oh my god, it's so good. Well, and okay, so later we're going to get into backstories that span several episodes and dozens of chapters. Sometimes that is required. If there's political intrigue, if there's deep relationships, if there's going to be some twist of irony or something like that, if it takes place over a long period of time. But we got Sodom and Gamorrah's story in half an episode in between scenes, and I think that was the perfect amount of time to convey how much it means to them without going overboard with it, right? I think we get a moment with Kiwi and Mozu where we get a brief flash of what they were like before they joined the Franky family, and I think it takes 10 seconds. And honestly, at this point, for some of the minor-ish characters, that's fine.
Absolutely.
I do also want to say, I'm not Chopper's biggest fan. I understand that he's there to kind of draw in probably female readers or readers who enjoy cute things, but I feel like there's not a ton to his character. It's mostly just, I'm a doctor and sometimes people do bad things to people and I think that they shouldn't because I'm a doctor. But I really liked him being the translator for Sodom and Gamorrah, and I felt like this might have been the most effective Chopper has been for me personally since we've been introduced to him. Just because he has that childlike quality, right? He has the kind of the higher pitched voice and, you know, he's really easy. He falls for like deceits pretty easily and stuff like that. So I felt like him being like, oh my god, Sodom and Gomorrah are such good boys, I felt like his innocence helped sell that even better. It was almost like he was the apostle of the church of Sodom and Gomorrah.
I really appreciated the way that you could see their determination in their actions, but for the other characters, their thoughts were translated through Chopper, and we got to feel kind of his emotions at hearing that from them directly. Mm-hmm. So that was really cool. Were they the MVP in this episode? Was it Sogeking? Who are you thinking?
We had so many characters. Okay, so let's just kind of go through what I think are the obvious nominations for MVPs. Sodom and Gomorrah pushing through their pain to help people out. Amazing. The Galileo people fighting even though they were exhausted and they were holding back the people and being like, just pretend that this is a dead end and you're not getting past us. Find another way around. That was awesome. Granny Kokoro gave a speech about how Straw Hat Luffy was going to be known the world over after the events of this arc. Hell yeah, that was great. Sogeking talking to the giants and turning them to the side of good. And also, you know, we mentioned this in the cold opens, it might be the one that we put in the front of this episode, but Usopp is a man who tells lies, but in this case, what he did was he told the truth in order to dispel lies of the government. Usopp is fascinating and I love him. And so I just, you know, it's interesting that he did the opposite of what he normally does and he was able to recruit allies.
Yeah, well, and you'll notice that Usopp has never told a lie that has directly hurt somebody. For the most part, his lies seem to be to inspire himself or to inspire others in some way.
He's definitely the bard of the party.
Yes. Oh my god, that's perfect, though. Dang, I never thought of it that way. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But yeah, and so in this case, he faced somebody who had been told a lie that it had stripped them of their freedom. They can't go anywhere because of this lie, and he was able to dispel it and able to inspire them with the truth.
Yes. But, okay, so back to the MVP talk. Yokozuna was also amazing when he stopped the cannonball, or the wrecking ball. That was great. And then Zoro and Sanji had their moments, too. I really liked when the wrecking ball person tried to attack Nami, and Yokozuna stopped the cannonball. And then the camera zooms out, and they're like, where's Sanji? And Zoro's like, damn it, Cook, we can't go after every enemy. And they did this, like, in the shadows battle, where you could only see, like, half of the wrecking ball guy's face, and then half of Sanji's face, and then you just see, like, an explosion of dust, and he comes out all cool, like the badass hero who doesn't look at explosions, and he goes, I just need to see what we're up against, and the guy just falls to the ground.
Yes.
So good. This is halfway a joke, but also halfway serious. Lucci almost gets a nomination for MVP because Spandam is like, hey, let's gather around and celebrate our victory and talk about how great justice is. And Lucci goes, screw off, old man. We're only here to kill. We don't have to respect you.
Yeah, Lucci is like, as long as you are in charge of this team, as stated by the higher-ups, I will follow you, but I'm not here to talk to you about your philosophy.
Shutting down Spandam is always going to get points in my book.
Franky friggin' biting Spandam on the head.
That joke never gets old. He could do that 1,000 times and every time I would laugh.
I just want to see Franky biting more people. I want that to be his go-to. I'm a nasty little gremlin man, and I'm going to bite you if you get close to me.
Yeah. But, okay, so if I had to pick an MVP... Oh, and then obviously Luffy for his gear second technique in his speech about his friends. I would probably have to give it to Yokozuna, because it's easy to give the MVP to the Straw Hats for their different accomplishments, but we've seen them really at their best, and so none of this was really anything beyond what they've already done. Maybe it's because he's the animal companion. Maybe I know that we're not going to see more of him after this arc, but I don't know. It's a frog who trained every day to stop trains, and now he's stopping frickin' wrecking balls, and he's like the one-man defense force preventing the Marines to get into the courthouse.
I'm sorry for the long silence. I noticed my cat making herself a bed out of one of Joel's shirts, and, like, cats are just good, you guys. For me, I think I feel what you're saying about we can't just give it to the Straw Hats because they're kind of doing their normal thing. I really appreciated Yokozuna being able to stop the cannonball with his hands, but Sodom and Gamorrah take it for me because first, Gamorrah's brother died trying to charge ahead because he wanted to rescue Franky, and then Gamorrah sacrificed himself to carry that on and to get them to the courthouse, and he got them there. He didn't collapse until he got there.
I will admit, yes, you are correct. Your points have persuaded me. I don't know why, but for some reason they just kind of briefly exited my mind. I was only thinking of like the last couple of MVP candidates that we were talking about.
No, that's fair.
Okay. So, Sodom and Gamorrah, they're very, very good boys. I never asked you if you like these episodes. I need to really work on that.
No, I told you that I thought they were fillery, and I liked the peak moments, but was kind of bored by the rest of it.
Okay. I do want to say, I think we mentioned this in the succinct summary, but I did write it down as something to talk about. I love that Spandam, this cocky ass, struts up to Robin and Franky in chains and goes, well, some people showed up to try to save you, but I'm sure they've failed by now. Let me just pull up this Denden Mushi and let my people tell you how bad of a situation you're in, how little hope there is left. All right, men, report. We're getting completely overrun! Spandam's just like, what is going on? That was so good.
Yes. Well, and shortly before that, Franky had been kind of grumpy. He'd been pouting a tiny bit. And to Robin, he'd said something along the lines of, at least your crew is here to rescue me. My family didn't even come. And then when Spandam calls the Marines are like, we have 60 guys down here wrecking our shit. And you can just see Franky's face light up as he realizes that his family did come for him and they're here.
Oh, man. And Franky is just very clearly becoming a fan of Luffy with, like, everything that they do. You know, they had their confrontation in Water 7, but it seems like he had a bonding moment with Usopp, and now he's hearing about this man who's standing up to the world government, and he had his interactions with Sanji. I think, as someone who who knows where this story goes after this, I think it's just amazing to see Franky's transformation because it is significant and it's great to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I wish he could have seen Luffy's fight with Blueno because he's very clearly becoming more impressed with Luffy as he hears about him, but I think actually getting to see it, like, it would just blow him away. He'd be like, okay, this guy's the captain. We're doing what he says.
Yes. We also got a little bit of an interesting thing from Jabra, of all people. Some world building that hasn't really come to fruition yet. But Spandam revealed the banana-looking devil fruit that Kaku ate, and I don't know, I guess it was closer to like a melon or something that Kalifa got. And he freaked out. He jumped to the other side of the room. He goes, oh my god, the little devil inside of me is gonna burst out, and it's gonna fight the devil inside the devil fruits. So apparently we have confirmation that the devil fruits contain little tiny devils in them.
Except no, because Lucci said, you still believe that nonsense? Scientists have proved it's not true. It's only if you eat two that you'll explode. So scientists know, A, that there aren't devils inside the fruits, and B, that do they know what is inside the fruits? Do they know what creates the powers?
I don't think they said there are no devils in them. I think they said the devil fruit won't fight you if it's near you, is the idea. So you have to eat two devil fruits before you explode. And then they said, I'm not sure if it's a devil or not, but we do know that your body explodes, and eating one devil fruit comes with so many weaknesses. Eating two is just inviting disaster.
Yeah, why would you be so greedy as to eat two? I think we're close to the exact words. So there are scientists studying devil fruits.
There are devil fruit botanists, as Dak has alluded to on Piece Together many times. Not alluded to, but kind of inferred or kind of guessed. Like, how do they come up with the names for these things? And how do they blah, 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 blah. The other thing that we learned is that apparently when you eat the devil fruit, you just instinctively learn the name of the fruit? What?
That's what somebody said. They said, I hear you know the name of the fruit once you've eaten it.
Okay.
But I can't remember whether it was one of them who had already eaten one or if it was one of the other two.
My recollection was it was Lucci, and he said there's no way of knowing what power it is until you eat it, and then you'll learn the name of it after you've eaten it.
Okay.
So It would be really fun if we had a One Piece novice with us, because then we could ask them what they thought devil fruit powers they were going to get. It is interesting. We have... How many people do we have with devil fruits on the team currently? Bluno with the Dorador fruit, Lucci, who is a leopard man, and then Jabra, who seems to have a zone of some variety.
Mysterious dog thing.
Exactly. Which, you know, dog thing sounds like it would probably be a Zoan, not a Logia or a Paramecia. So to me, it makes sense that maybe they would get more Zoans, you know? And I could easily see Oda going with, like, the cat girl for Kalifa, just because, you know, the series does seem to have a somewhat problematic stance with female characters sometimes, and that would be kind of interesting. And then Kaku, you know, he's one of the stronger members. I think he's second only to Lucci, so giving him a carnivore devil fruit would be interesting, because we've already had the hint that carnivores are, like, more vicious than other Zoans, and it would just kind of complete the setup, I think.
Kaku seems to use a lot of kicks, so I think I would give him, like, a goose devil fruit.
A gazelle devil fruit?
Something that had big legs that they could kick with.
Okay.
But yeah, I agree that One Piece seems to give women sexier powers. Just by happenstance, they happen to get the sexier powers.
I mean, it's insane. But yeah, so now we know that there may be two little devils, or devils inside of devil fruits, and if you eat two, bad things will happen. Now, even without foreknowledge of what might or might not happen later, that's interesting, and it feels very... I don't know, important somehow. Like, it's the sort of, it's Chekhov's gun, right? I like to joke that a man named Chekhov is loading or cleaning his gun, and he looks up and he goes, "What?" whenever Oda drops a line like this, because, yeah, that's just so significant. It has to come up in some way.
Yes, I really want more devil fruit research. Because this isn't even the first time we've heard about research being done on devil fruits. You remember the gun dog?
Yes. That is so good. And you know, if they're doing experiments on devil fruits, maybe the gun dog was just on accident. Maybe they're trying to figure out, like, what properties do devil fruits possess? Why is it only after you've eaten them? Why can't you just hold it or rub it against your face? You know what I'm saying? They're like, there could be different ways to apply it. And so, you know, maybe they made a devil fruit smoothie and fed it to someone and say, like, "Oh, does this affect?" Maybe they had two people take a bite from a devil fruit at the same time to see what happens.
Oh, what would happen if you did that? What do you think?
I do not know. I think that technically only one of them would get the power. I think God or whatever, like some cosmic power, would basically say they swallowed 19 nanoseconds before the other one, so they get the powers.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be possible to split powers between two people. Or maybe that's the One Piece version of the fusion dance. You both eat a piece and then you fuse into one person that has the full devil fruit power.
Oh, that would be so cool. So I know this is not the case because of foreknowledge, but I think that it would be interesting if the reason you instinctively know the name of the fruit after you've eaten it is that it gives you powers based on your personality.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that'd be really cool. This is kind of future speculation, but it's not really spoilers because it hasn't really come to fruition. I wonder if devil fruits can somehow be born of people who don't have devil fruits. I wonder if you dedicate your life to something so wholeheartedly that it consumes you and becomes your personality, I wonder if when you die, your soul becomes the devil fruit, and eating the devil fruit allows you to carry on the will of the person who once had it. So in the case of Ace, who ate the flame fruit, maybe it was someone who had a really, like, hot temper or something like that back in the past, and they were really passionate and really fiery, you know, like Bakugo from My Hero Academia.
Luffy's ancestor was really flexible.
Yeah, I'm not sure how you would explain things like the stretch fruit, or the, what's the one that Alvida ate? Like the slim fruit? Or the chop fruit that Buggy has. Like, the Paramecias are weird, but I think for animals or the Logias, it's a little bit more easily to be like, yeah, maybe there was someone who just had an electric personality back in the day, and that was Eneru's ancestor. And then I think that people who are better suited to use the devil fruits are the people whose wills better align with the wills of the people before them.
Can I just say I'm glad that we finally have a main antagonist for an arc that doesn't have a Logia?
Yes.
I feel like Logias were kind of being set up as like, oh no, they're so difficult to beat, they're unbeatable. And he beat Crocodile because he found Crocodile's like secret weakness, but not because of his inherent strength. And he beat Eneru because he happened to be Eneru's weakness. But it's cool to see that other types of devil fruits can be just as menacing.
Yes, absolutely. I do also like that not every bad guy is a Logia because they are so rare. You know, I think even now in present canon we have like 15, maybe, Logia users, and so it would just get kind of cheap if all of the Logias were in the hands of the Marines and they just like in a progressive, order or whatever. Crocodile and Eneru aren't Marines, so, I have no idea why I said all the Logias in possession of the Marines.
I mean, Crocodile's in the possession of the Marines now.
I guess that is true, yeah. Okay, so Captain, you had one more question that you wanted to kind of ask related to governments and their research and stuff.
Yes.
Or their interests.
I did. So when the two giants were talking to Usopp, they said that after Dory and Bragi left to fight their duel...
Or stayed behind, rather.
They split up their pirate group and they all went back home. And that after so many years of Dory and Bragi not coming home, these two set out in sail of search of them to find out what the result of the duel was. And they were captured by the government, and the government asked them lots of questions. Mm-hmm. And so I want to know... Does the government have a special interest in giants? Because these two weren't out pirating necessarily. They weren't actively committing crimes. And why did the government need to ask them so many questions? Why did the government decide to come up with this elaborate lie to trap them in servitude? Is it just because they're big and the government figured more big people good?
Yeah, I mean, we saw how well Oimo and Kashi were able to hold off regular humans at the gate. At the same time, we also saw them defeated by people who believe in their cause. So it's not like giants are, unbeatable. But I think really what it is just that they are so strong. And I think that pride that is inherent to their culture, I think makes them really good soldiers. If you're proud of the world government and you've staked your heart on making sure that it stays in power, then you have some really strong allies. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the government has interest in giants. What I will say though, and this, you and I talk about the Marines a lot on this pod, but we are using foreknowledge because we get much more fleshed out picture of the Marines in later arcs. Right now, we still really don't know much about them. Really, we know that there was the corrupt Axe-Hand Morgan. We know that there was the inept Full Body, who was on the Baratier with Sanji. And we know there was Smoker, who was incredibly good at catching pirates, but he moved at his own pace. We've met Aokiji, who's like this kind of lazy guy. So, like, the overall picture of the Marines are kind of inept idiots.
Scattered a little bit.
But I will say that we've never seen a non-human member of the Marines or the world government until now. And I don't even know if they technically count as members or if they're just like mercenaries or, allies.
Yeah. Do they get a W-2 at the end of the year? Or...
Oh my God. Could you imagine you're just sitting in the mess hall and Oimo comes in? Hey guys, how's it been? How's it going? But, so I wouldn't be surprised if the Marines were interested in giants, but I also wouldn't be surprised if the world government maybe sort of racist? Nah, that wouldn't completely surprise me.
Racism in One Piece? Yeah.
I don't know. I forgot when we were going through the list of Marines, we also had that stupid rat bastard, Nezumi, I think it was, from Nami's village. So we, honest to God, other than Kobe believing in the Marines...
And Smoker,
And Smoker and Garp, we don't have very many good Marines.
Yeah. I think that... It takes a person with a certain level of ambition to rise high in the Marines. And I think a lot of people with that level of ambition and that level of, I'm going to capture all the pirates, I'm going to put them in jail so that I can get to the next rank, most of those are probably not going to be the best people.
Yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, that's it. And so before we go into kind of like the last major discussion points, let's go to our world famous ad segment.
Hello and welcome to the ad. I'm here with this exciting new product.
Tell me more.
It's called Meow Juice.
Meow juice. Interesting.
Yes. Now, what do you think when you hear this name, Meow Juice? What does it put you in the mind of?
I'm thinking of something that we extract from cats.
Well, you're not too far off from that. This Meow Juice comes only from the finest cats living in the absolute lap of luxury.
Okay.
We pet them gently, and they excrete it from the tips of their horns. Now, these horns, as you know, grow all along the body of a cat.
Naturally, yes. They're more like spines, but for some reason, our ancestors decided, you know what, we're going to call these horns.
Exactly, yes. And the juice that they excrete...
There's a sentence I never thought I'd hear on this podcast.
The juice that they excrete gives you quite a bit of energy. It helps you to get up with a smile on your face, and it helps you to go. Now, this specific brand of Meow Juice has been specially processed and formulated to not only give you the energy you need, but also to give back to the cats that mean so much to you.
Now, from my understanding, from our cats that we have at home, they actually don't seem to walk around with a smile on their face that often. They seem to just nap most of the time. They seem to, reserve their energy. So can you explain the science why Meow Juice helps you have more energy when it seems like cats have none?
Yes, I can explain that. As you'll notice on our cats, the spines have been removed for our safety.
Of course.
So a big part of their lack of energy is that they do not have access to their natural supply of Meow Juice.
I see, okay.
Yes, which is why this product is so important. You sprinkle a few drops on their food in the morning, and it helps them to have a more natural energy level.
Oh, okay, I see. And is it possible to extract this juice on your own from your own cats, or is there something about this product?
If you happen to have cats with their spines intact, I don't recommend extracting it yourself. First of all, the spines are very sharp and you will cut yourself. Second of all, this product, as I said, has been specially formulated. So not only do they extract the juices, but they pasteurize them, they add in extra vitamins and minerals, and they sanitize them. They remove all of the dangerous toxins.
Okay, and this product is safe to be consumed by humans. What about children or the elderly?
Well, you can give it to the elderly. That would be one thing. I would not recommend giving it to children. We have found that cat juice increases the growth rate of children 400%, and they will become 17-foot tall giants that terrorize your house.
That's incredible. Now, I fed some Meow Juice to my grandma, and she started scratching, so, just be warned that you have to kind of do it in moderation, in slow increments, to slowly acclimate them to this new product.
Yes, test a drop on your wrist, and if your wrist reddens and swells, don't take it. You might be allergic.
Absolutely. And lastly, what happens if other types of pets were to accidentally consume Meow Juice? Or perhaps purposefully?
No, don't do that.
Okay, absolutely. So you heard it from here first. Buy Meow Juice online. Use checkout code COTWIN2019 in order to get 15% off your first order. And now, back to our regularly scheduled episode. Okay, and tonight we've come to the main event, the battle that you've all been waiting for. In this corner, it's the bartender with the horns, the doorman himself, the master of the iron body. It's Bluno! And in this corner, we have the stretchy rubber man. He's gonna be the king of something, but we're not quite sure what of. He has a straw hat and he believes in his friends. He acts kind of like a monkey, hence his name, Monkey D. Luffy.
D.
And holy crap. So this battle, I see it as being two separate battles or two halves of a battle, however you want to look at it. But you get the beginning of the battle when Luffy has not yet unveiled his new technique, where he is fighting Bluno and he's punching through the iron bodies and he's keeping up. And I just gotta say, of all of the many scenes in One Piece that kind of rattle around in my head, one of my favorite shots that I love is when Luffy has just separated from Bluno, and Bluno has soared. He's disappeared. Luffy's crouched over, and in the background, you see like poof, poof, poof. You see these clouds, I guess, or like dust puffs coming off of the air. And I really like that. I cannot explain what about that gets me, but I love it.
It actually was really impressive to watch this episode with you because you seem to kind of have the fight memorized. You were like naming Luffy's attacks along with him, and then you went, and now it's gonna do bump, bump, bump.
Yeah.
And you were very into this fight, so that was fun.
This was, as far as I can remember, the first fight in this show that I started showing clips of to my friends who watch anime but not One Piece. I remember a friend, Crystal, was saying, you know, at the beginning of the fight, or after Luffy activates Gear Second, he's about to attack, and Luna goes, "Are you trying to aim? The things that you're doing are getting weirder and weirder," or something like that. And Crystal was like, "The anime that you're showing me is getting weirder and weirder." Okay, I'm sorry. It was cool to me, but maybe it's one of those things where if you haven't seen the build-up, it's not quite as good. But yeah, no, holy crap. Luffy deflecting the lightning kick round Kaku or whatever it's called. That was really cool. Bluno keeps hinting. He's like, is he getting stronger? Has he always been this strong? What is going on? And I love that. It's a stupid anime trope, you know, character surpasses his limits, but like Luffy seems to have, by simply deciding he wants to protect people, gotten stronger. Like his punches are hitting harder.
Well, and Luffy even said when they landed at Enies' lobby that he had a new technique he wanted to try out.
Yup. Absolutely. And not to spoil too much from the next episode, but he was seen putting meat in his pockets, and he was saying that he loved the pockets on his pants, and that is related to his post-victory strategies. He's going to take out the meat, he's going to eat it. So Oda clearly had this planned out, and Luffy clearly been thinking about it for a while. But even in his base form, as you want to call it, before Gear Second, he seems to have gotten stronger and faster and whatever. And, you know, I joked about a Zenkai boost, which is the Dragon Ball Z concept of anytime a Saiyan is almost killed and then they come back, they're way stronger. I mean, Luffy was almost killed. It feels very deliberate. And this Gear Second, it looks like the Kaioken, okay? In Dragon Ball Z, Catherine, I know you didn't watch Dragon Ball Z very much, but the Kaioken technique is one from early Dragon Ball Z, and it puts a red aura around Goku, and it, for a temporary amount of time, increases your physical abilities, but if you use it for too long, it can be damaging to your body.
Oh, snip, you're right, that is Gear Second.
It's absolutely Gear Second. But, you know, that doesn't take away from it. I still love it, even if it is kind of, you know, a little obvious. He hinted at having another technique he was going to save for later, and...
But then he discovered he'd beaten Bluno.
Yeah, Bluno was already defeated, but that one is less of a Dragon Ball Z technique, so, you know, it kind of all works out in the end.
And right before the fight, before it even began, and Joel and I had different ideas as to what this might have been, but Luffy's standing there on the roof and there's no one there, and all of a sudden he cocks his head to the side and question marks appear, and then Bluno opens a door and he's there, and Joel and I were like, oh, can Luffy sense things that are coming? And then Joel was like, no, maybe he just saw that the air was shimmering or something. Maybe foreshadowing, maybe not, I don't know, but I liked that.
It's interesting because up until these episodes with the Gear Second, by the way, that's why this episode of the podcast is covering 5 episodes, because when I was looking at the episode list, I was like, okay, we'll watch 4. Oh god, the 5th one is called Gear Second Activate, so I definitely purposefully put that in with this group so we could talk about it. But up until Gear Second, One Piece had its own kind of logic and charm, right? You had guys with swords, you had guys whose bodies could split apart and devil fruit powers and whatever the heck mantra was up in Sky Island, and now you have the 6 powers, but it all felt very cartoony in the best possible way, I guess, or it felt very unique from Dragon Ball Z or Naruto or Bleach. All of those had some variation of laser beams. But I never thought that you would have, like, the ability to sense life force, or the ability to shoot lasers, or the ability to increase your physical abilities. But now we have Gear Second, which very clearly seems to be doing that. And, you know, Dragon Ball Z and Naruto are very popular, and, you know, the laser swords from Bleach are, you know, pretty cool. Not laser swords that shoot lasers. But this definitely feels like it's starting to become a little bit more Dragon Ball Z-ish.
Mm-hmm. I have not seen enough of Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, Bleach to speak to that, but I do feel like as they explain how it works, it definitely takes on more of a One Piece specific flair.
Yes. Right now, we don't know the mechanics of it.
And so I appreciate that. Do you mind if I share the super cool speech that Luffy gave right before he launched into
Absolutely.
Gear Second?
Some of the bits have been taken out, but for the most part, this was as close to a word by word that I could get of the dub version of Luffy's speech, because sometimes the subs are slightly worded differently.
Right. So Luffy is facing Blueno, and this is at the end of the first half of the fight, and he says, "It's no good. I can't stay like this. It won't work. When I lost to Aokiji, I realized something. I said to myself, you keep running into enemies that are getting stronger and stronger. Unless you get stronger too, you won't be able to beat them. So I have to get stronger, or there's a chance I may lose my friends. So that I won't lose anyone, so that I won't lose anyone slip away from, or let anyone slip away from me. All of my strength and techniques will go up by one step."
So good. And it's perfect. Every arc of One Piece is more or less Luffy shows up, someone's doing something morally outrageous, Luffy stops them. But different arcs have different kind of themes or different ideas that they're kind of going for. Crocodile was all about how to properly use your devil fruit and the power of like gathering, organizing a group of people. It has some political intrigue. This one, it seems to be the main focus is Luffy's emphasis on his friends and how much he cares about them, how much he's willing to fight for them. So now we have the speech that he gives that is basically, I'm going to keep fighting for my friends. Don't you dare touch my friends. Also, it's heartbreaking, but I love it. When he's saying, so that I won't let them drift away so I can protect them, it shows his crewmates, and kind of like image behind him, I guess, and you see Zoro and Nami and Sanji. Robin is slightly separate from the other ones, which, speaks of the fact that she has already been threatened to been taken away, or she has been taken away, and he has to get her back. And Usopp his back is turned to the camera. You only see the back of his head, because right now he's turned his back on the crew.
I didn't even catch that. That is really sad.
Yeah, but it's interesting because I would have assumed that to Luffy, he'd still kind of see Usopp as a friend, even if not really. And so it's just a nice little detail to show that is still in the back of Luffy's
He still
mind.
wants to protect Usopp. He still doesn't want to let Usopp slip away, but he's recognized that Usopp has kind of turned away from them.
Has already started to slip away and that sort of thing. And hey, maybe to Luffy, if he had been stronger, he might have been able to protect the ship, and then then Usopp wouldn't have had a reason to leave. So in a way, I think it all comes back to the motif of strength.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but I think that's mostly it for these episodes. The one other thing we had on our notes was that Zoro summoned a demon?
Oh, God. So one of Zoro's first attacks that he ever used is Onigiri. And I don't know what distinguishes Onigiri from some of his other three sword techniques, but it's the one where he crosses his arms and he has the sword in his mouth, and then he X shapes with the swords in his arms, and then he cuts horizontally with his mouth so it creates like a triangle shape. Onigiri, it's named after the rice ball, but it also means demon slash. This time, there were some people talking, and then all of a sudden it just showed Zoro's sword, and it was, like, shimmering, the air around it, like you would see in a Mirage in a TV show or something. And then the air gets dark, and this kind of, like, Grim Reaper-looking thing appears behind him. They're like, oh my god, it's a demon! And it's not just Onigiri. It had another name, like a...
It was like Demon something Onigiri.
Yeah, exactly. So, listen... Curse isn't here. I can just say, this is absolutely foreshadowing. But at the same time, Luffy, if he gets, his gear second, and if he has another technique, they get explained. You go, okay, that kind of makes sense with how his rubber powers work. It's anime logic, but I still get it. Other characters in this arc who get different, like, new powers to fight the CP9 members, you go, okay, I get it. It's anime logic, but I get it. But Zoro's is still unexplained. People on YouTube or Twitter or, whatever, they all have their theories, and there's a general consensus, but it still hasn't been explicitly stated. And it's just like, okay, that's pretty cool. But, yeah, I think that has been your doot final thought outro goes here. All right, everyone, next episode 80 of King of the What Now. We'll be covering another 5 episodes of the anime, 274, 275, 276, 277, and 278. Thank you. Have a great morning, evening, or afternoon, whatever the case may be.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Rumor has it Luffy is so fast, Blueno didn't even realize he'd been defeated. Hell yeah!
He's too goddamn fast for your goddamn eyes. So ends the next leg of the King of the What Now adventure. We're sad to see you go, but we'll be here next week. If you crave some social interaction with us in the meantime, you can find us on all sorts of different media. We have Gmail, Patreon, and Tumblr. All of those are King of the What Pod. King of the What Pod at gmail.com, patreon.com/King of the What Pod, kingofthewhatpod.tumblr.com. Our Twitter handlers are a little bit different. You can reach me at KOTWN_pod.
And you can contact me, Curtis, at Pirate Co-host.
Also, please take a moment to rate and review our podcast on whatever platform you're using to listen. Not only will this help others find the podcast, but your constructive feedback will help us improve the show as we go.
Thanks so much for giving us a listen. Until next time, follow your dreams and protect your treasure.
Remember, it doesn't need to be literal treasure.